They looked like the couple everyone wanted to be. Daniel and Sophia, 10 years married, a house in the suburbs, steady jobs, polite smiles in every photo. To the world, they were solid, predictable, safe. Each morning followed the same routine. Sophia's alarm went off at 6:15. She would tie her hair into a messy bun, pour 2 cups of coffee, one for her, one for Daniel, and rush off to the hospital before sunrise. Daniel would wake to the faint sound of her car leaving the driveway. He'd sit by the window, cup in hand, watching the quiet street. He used to send her messages during his morning commute: "Drive safe, love you." But lately, those texts had stopped. At first, he didn't notice the silence between them. It grew slowly, like dust settling on untouched furniture. Dinner conversations turned into updates about bills and schedules. Laughter was replaced by the soft hum of the TV. Daniel told himself it was normal, that every marriage goes through quiet seasons. But deep down, he missed being seen. That's when Maya entered his life. She joined the marketing team, young, bright-eyed, full of ideas. She had that effortless warmth that made people feel comfortable around her. When she asked Daniel questions, she actually listened. She remembered his answers. One afternoon, after a long meeting, she laughed at something he said. A genuine laugh, not polite. And for the first time in months, he felt noticed. That night, he drove home to find Sophia asleep on the couch, still in her scrubs, an unfinished dinner plate beside her. He brushed a strand of hair from her face. She stirred slightly, smiled in her sleep, and whispered his name. For a brief moment, guilt and tenderness tangled in his chest. He kissed her forehead and whispered, "I love you." But the words felt heavier than they used to. The next morning, at work, Maya greeted him with a smile that made the office feel warmer than home. It started innocently. Late nights at the office, working on a major campaign. Shared takeout dinners. Casual jokes that slowly became private ones. Daniel told himself it was harmless, 2 colleagues helping each other through long hours. But the truth was, he started looking forward to seeing her. To hearing her laugh. To watching her tuck her hair behind her ear when she was deep in thought. One evening, while reviewing slides, their hands brushed as they reached for the same pen. It was a brief touch, but it lingered longer than it should have. Both pulled away, pretending not to notice. On the drive home, Daniel kept replaying that moment in his mind. He felt the old thrill he hadn't felt in years, the flutter of being wanted. At home, Sophia was quiet. She asked about his day, half distracted, scrolling through her phone. He gave short answers, eager to escape to the shower, to wash away the confusion that clung to him. Days turned into weeks. The messages between him and Maya became more frequent. First about work, then about life, then about nothing at all. One night, she texted him. "Couldn't stop thinking about our talk today." He stared at the screen, heart pounding. His thumb hovered over the keyboard. He knew replying would cross a line. But the loneliness was louder than his conscience. "Me too," he typed. That simple message changed everything. From then on, they spoke every day. Little inside jokes, flirty emojis, confessions disguised as what-ifs. He told himself he'd never actually do anything. He was just tired, just needed to feel wanted again. But deep down, he knew where it was heading. It was supposed to be a harmless celebration. The team had just landed a big client. Everyone went out for drinks. Daniel told Sophia he'd be home late, maybe midnight. She smiled and said, "You deserve it." At the bar, laughter filled the air. Music pulsed softly under the chatter. Daniel kept his distance from Maya at first, trying to be careful. But as the night wore on and glasses emptied, caution faded. They sat in a quiet corner. The conversation turned personal: childhood dreams, regrets, loneliness. Daniel spoke about his marriage, how he and Sophia had drifted. Maya listened, eyes soft, voice gentle. When the rain started outside, the others began leaving. But they stayed. A silence hung between them. Heavy. Unspoken. Maya reached out, brushed her fingers over his hand. He didn't move, didn't pull away. For a heartbeat, he thought about everything. Sophia's tired smile, their wedding vows, the home they built. And then, he didn't think at all. The screen fades to black. Only his voice remains. Greater than, one moment of weakness, one choice that changed everything. The next morning, Daniel woke in his car. The windows fogged, his head pounding with guilt. Rain tapped softly against the windshield, the same rain that had hidden his mistake hours earlier. He drove home in silence, every mile heavier than the last. When he opened the door, Sophia was half asleep on the couch. She smiled faintly. "You're home early," she murmured, her voice still thick with dreams. He nodded, forcing a smile. "Yeah, early." She turned back to sleep. He stood there, staring at her, and realized he had just broken the only thing that ever truly mattered. Days passed, but Daniel felt like he was walking through fog. At work, Maya avoided him. The laughter they once shared was replaced by awkward silence. She eventually asked to transfer to another department. He didn't stop her. At home, Sophia noticed the distance. The guilt was heavy in his voice, in his eyes, in every forced, "I love you." One evening, while doing laundry, Sophia found a message he forgot to delete. Her heart sank before she even finished reading it. She didn't yell, didn't cry. She simply walked up to him, eyes steady, and asked, "Why?" He tried to explain, loneliness, confusion, mistakes. But every word sounded hollow. She didn't say another word. Just turned and walked out. The sound of the door closing echoed louder than any scream could. Weeks turned into months. The house grew quieter. Sophia moved out. Daniel kept her things untouched, her mug on the counter, her books on the shelf, as if pretending could reverse time. At night, he sat alone, staring at their wedding photo. He didn't recognize the man in it anymore. He opened a journal, something he hadn't touched in years, and began to write. Greater than, if only I had held back, maybe that night wouldn't have changed everything. His voice trembles as he continues. Greater than, we always think it's just one moment. One harmless choice. But moments become memories, and memories become the ghosts that never leave. The final shot fades to black. Soft piano music rises. Rain outside. A whisper, almost like a confession. Greater than, he couldn't hold back, and that night changed everything.